Previously on Man Children of the Atom.
I'm not returning these for anything.
Ted, we know you're a fan of the show.
Thanks for listening. Who is Beast playing Magic the Gathering with of all the X-Men?
A hardball with Chris Matthews.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Learning the fate of Mangala.
I'll have to wake up one of his 11 clones I made.
A simple pat down would have sufficed.
Laces out. Because I'm a fake fan, listener. And you would be listener, you'd be better at this podcast. You're right.
Evil Alex Mack Puddle impregnating a man. Mpreg.
Right into to us, and you can order your own Alex Max Sentinel Jizz.
Oh Lord. Adagio 3, Primo 1.
Left the door wide open and the cat got out.
Yes.
We've warned her 1,000 times. You have to close the door.
If they're not turned on anymore, does the human form get turned into jelly? The internet.
We're doing a podcast about the same show.
But we're having fun.
All right, and welcome to Man Children of the Atom, Episode 9, talking about the 9th episode of X-Men 97, Tolerance is Extinction, Part 2. I'm Matt.
I'm Bret.
And Bret, as I often ask you, how are you doing tonight?
I'm all right. I am once again fighting a cold, so if you hear me go quiet, it's because I'm trying to stifle a cough so it doesn't destroy the ears of our wonderful listeners.
And they are legion. They are many.
Oh, so many.
All of them. Crash Bandicoot, Ted Kaczynski, they're all...
A wide range.
Absolutely.
A wide range of listeners, yeah.
Yeah, my voice has probably sound a little hoarse too, because when I do reading at night for my kids, I often do voices and kind of push my limits a little bit and then pay for it on the back end.
God bless you. I don't have the energy. I barely had the energy to put them in bed, let alone do voices in a story.
All right, so here we are. We are in the finale trilogy of this season. We're in the middle of it. This is the middle chapter. This is the Empire Strikes Back of Tolerance's Extinction.
And it does have those moments in it. It does feel like the bad guys are kind of, or the good guys at least are on the ropes in a sense.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know about you. I mean, this could be a whole other podcast. It's an uncontroversial statement, maybe, but Empire, that's up there in my stars. Maybe number one.
Yeah, you might be ruffling a few feathers with that one. So we get this beginning that I think is, they really know how to build anticipation here. It's like we had Extinction Part 1, and it was like, here's sort of what the end of this is going to look like. Here are the bad guys. It sets up Magneto. It sets up Bastion. The X-Men are sort of all, they're coming back together. And this is like, we get this, well, I would call it a fun sort of build up to the beginning of this, where
we start
Xavier's waking up.
He's waking up and he's thinking like, there's no handcuffs or ball gags in this bed.
Yeah, no,
I'm not used to this type of sleeping anymore.
Yeah, Lalandra's not here to give him a good morning.
Good morning.
So, although the interesting thing here is this guy wakes up in what must be the only livable room left in this mansion, and it's spotless.
I call dibs.
Yeah, everybody else is sleeping on rubble, and this guy's in a bed. We cut between that. Magneto, now fully clothed, is getting ready.
Who's on like a bluff near the ocean, like, this is where I left my helmet.
Well,
right where I put it.
So Magneto's there. Bastion is carrying his comatose robot mother, and then there's Jubilee and Roberto are running from Friends of Humanity. A couple of notes here.
Go.
I like Xavier wiping off the new yellow X-Men 92.
Oh, the hover chair thing?
Hover chair, yeah. And then, settling for a regular old wheelchair like a human. Magneto, I noticed this on a second viewing today. He lifts Asteroid M, and there are a bunch of just like shipping freighters in the water where this happens.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are there so many ships around this area. Like, where is he that all these ships are just sitting there and presumably then get destroyed when Asteroid M rises
Maybe he
from
brought
the
them.
ground?
Maybe those are
That's
his
true.
ships. He just pulled them there with magnetism.
He was like, it's like a two birds with one stone type thing. I'm going to raise Asteroid M and kill all these humans at the same time.
I'll name this one Ship M and this one Ship M2.
Oh, you know what it is? The EMP knocked them all out.
Oh,
And so
actually,
now,
probably, yeah.
like when that boat drove into that bridge a couple months ago.
Wait, what?
Was that?
Are you
Oh, you
talking
didn't
about
see
the
the...
Panama Canal like a couple
No,
years
no, no,
ago?
no. This was in Baltimore,
Oh,
Maryland.
so Baltimore is in Maryland. I'm gonna I'm gonna grant you that one. What happened in Baltimore?
Oh, it was like a freighter ship. Like the power went out and it was drifting and it drifted into a bridge and
Oh
it took a bridge
shit!
out. You didn't see this?
I no.
It was it was all the rage a couple months ago. Everybody's talking
Oh,
about it.
I
Yeah,
don't follow bridges anymore. I've
no,
been burned too many
it was
times.
it was a tragedy, Matthew, and I'd like you to keep up with the many tragedies that we experience in this country.
No. Maritime tragedies are a bridge too far. I didn't even mean for that to
Oof.
happen.
Moving
Yikes.
on.
Moving on.
Bastion's mom is somehow crying, even though she's a robot here. But
That's
he does
just
put her.
that's just saline solution.
It's oil coming out of her face. He puts her in bed, and now his horrifying picture has been mounted on the wall. Did you see this?
Yeah, I did see this. This I saw. That's why I didn't see the thing about the freighter. I was looking at this picture.
You're too busy watching X-Men.
I,
And then it sort of ends with Jubilee and Roberto being saved by Storm and Forge. We get a big hug between Jubilee and Storm. It's very nice.
we do. I made a note on the moment when Xavier opens up his bedroom door and there's just all the debris and holes and stuff in the hallway. And I just wrote, my mansion is no longer ADA compliant.
He actually looked shocked, and I was like, well, didn't you see this when you came in? How did you miss this? Did you go in the back door and just like, oh, it's late. I'm not going to disturb
Maybe
anybody.
that's the room his spaceship crashed into. He just got out and went right to bed.
Yes. It was a long interstellar flight.
He crashed in just like Donnie Darko's bedroom. I don't know.
Oh, God. I haven't thought about that movie since high school.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right. From there, we get the scene where Jean says the world is going to end in 12 hours, so you better make this fast. And
Yep.
Cyclops and Xavier have a quick argument here.
A little father-son style argument.
There's a great shot here where Xavier's on the left and the whole wall behind him is blown out. Light is sort of pouring in from outside. And Jean and Cyclops are on the right, and there's like a beam in the foreground that is dividing them diagonally.
Oh, nice.
And it's this really cool, it almost looks like a comic panel
Yeah.
page. And
Good
it's just
framing.
another example of the cool cinematography that they have in the show and the way they use the settings and everything to just make a scene, which is just, it could be two people arguing, it could just be a shot, reaction shot. But instead, they're like, no, let's make this interesting.
Yeah.
And I always appreciate that they're just constantly evoking what makes comic books great, which is the visuals. They're always making it interesting, even if it is just an argument or two people sitting and having a talk.
You know what it makes me think of, Bret? And this is actually something you turned me on to years ago. There was that YouTube channel that you had recommended to me. I think Every Frame of Painting was the name of it. So I guess
incredible.
we're plugging them, and Every Frame of Painting people, we know you're fans of the show too.
Oh, they have to be.
We'd love to hear from you. But just the idea of like the importance of shot composition and how a single shot can tell a story. The way that something can be just flat and kind of boring, or you can take a shot and say like, it's not just going to be a record of what characters are saying to each other. I'm going to show you something about their relationship to each other, about their relationship to the plot and the giftedness. Like, and I can't remember if it's from that series or another, but like the Edgar Wright movies, for example, like take very interesting angles on mundane things. So did Breaking Bad,
Yes.
right? And I think probably Vince Gilligan did some of that on the X-Files as well. But like this sense of like, you can show something mundane, but you can show us in an angle that we don't normally see it from, and suddenly it's engrossing.
In speeding up or slowing down the editing, yeah,
Yes.
if listeners, if you're interested at all in just the language of filmmaking, Every Frame of Painting was one of the first YouTube channels to do the video essay right. And the two people that do it, I think they're a couple, or they're married or whatever. They took a break because they were professional editors.
Again, we know you're listening. Right in and tell us about yourselves.
Yeah, and they took years off, but they recently came back with a couple new episodes. It's the best show on YouTube. There aren't a ton of episodes of it, or videos of it. I guess I don't call them episodes. But yeah, that's a great show. It's the type of thing that once you see those things, it helps you to appreciate visual art in a whole another way. It's like gaining a second sense. It's incredible.
Yeah. Oh, God, we're staying on this tangent, but it's hard not to. There are things that are communicated that before you're clued into it, it's still affecting you. You're still
Oh yeah.
seeing it without realizing what you're seeing. And once it's pointed out, you're like, yeah, now I see what I was reacting to. I find it fascinating. I know you do as well.
Yeah, it's like the psychology of storytelling. It's great. Great stuff.
I wrote down a line here from this scene, going back to this scene. I wanted to spare you the weight of your loyalty to me. And I just wrote it down because, like, I feel like there's ways that could be delivered that it has some gravitas to it, but that and like every kind of line like that in this scene, I was just like, Xavier sounds kind of just like whiny and
Yes.
pompous isn't maybe the exact word I want, but it's something in that family. Just
He's like
overwrought and
exasperated. He's like exasperated by everybody. Like, oh, why didn't you figure it out? Like, this is I was. I really, yeah. He's the real frustrating flavor in this otherwise delectable pie that
yeah.
we get.
I liked Professor X in the old show. I liked him in the comics. I mean, I guess there's been further writing since I stopped collecting where like they're like, you know what? He's a villain. We're just gonna make it.
Yeah, he's gone through a few changes,
And they
but
do
I
that.
mean, yeah, and which is fine. But like I've said this in earlier episodes, like in order to sell the idea that this guy built the X-Men, trained the X-Men, like enacted this whole plan, like I mean, even in the comics, into like the 90s, he's still not known as a mutant. He's still seen as like I think a geneticist or
Oh,
whatever. I
yeah.
was just reading some issues of Fatal Attractions. People still don't realize he's a mutant, like in that world.
Mm.
And so if you think about the type of character that would have to live that life where it's like a double life and he's sort of trying to help mutants from the public relations side, but also building up his team, it would have to be someone that's a little bit more forceful and like rugged than what we get, which is just very, like you said, very whiny, very
Yeah.
frustrating.
I mean, maybe, and again, it could be intentional because I feel like we come away from that scene on Cyclops' side of it, right? Maybe they want us to be more sympathetic to Cyclops in this scene and
That's true.
his kind of criticisms of the way things have worked.
Yeah, and he does leave Professor X hanging. He like tries to shake his hand, and Scott just walks right out, which is very nice. We then meet up with Rogue, where she's dreaming about Gambit, as we all do. We get one of our beloved Roguisms. She says she feels like she's been run over by a hay baler fixed with a jet engine. I don't know what a hay baler is, but it sounds painful.
Yeah, and who's there when she wakes up? Our buddy, Nightcrawler. Because he tells her that Trask survived, and she asks about Remy. See, he survived. Sorry, I'm having trouble reading my own handwriting. Do you remember
Y-
what
I
Brett? What
think
would
he
I have
like
been writing?
I think he clarifies for her like what happened
Yeah,
in Genosha, but obviously later on Rogue goes with Magneto, but it's sort of setting up that she's still deeply affected by what has happened, and she's none too happy with humans at the moment.
rightfully so.
From there, we get Storm's return. Her and Jean have a nice little meetup, and Beast and Forge start chatting. So yeah, this is really just the group getting back together
Yeah,
type sequence.
I enjoy the
Um,
Beast and Forge like inventor bros dynamic that they
yes.
have.
Yes, that's right. He's like, "Oh, how come your leg didn't get affected?" He's like, "Oh, I installed this crazy fake thing." And yeah, I love when Beast gets to chat science with
Oh
somebody else.
yeah, it reminds me of growing up and like when my dad and certain of my uncles would like at parties be like, "This is the chance to talk about computers or whatever with somebody." Yeah, it's good.
Or when we get together at a party,
Oh,
we talk about X-Men
that's right.
or whatever geek shit we're talking about, as we did not too long ago.
We did, and we were treated to a Star Wars spinoff by
That's
a
right.
child of one of our friends.
Yeah, he inducted you into his little game. Were you were you
I,
Chewbacca in that?
I was a Wookiee. Yeah, I was a Chewbacca stand-in.
You were a Chewbacca stand-in, and we're playing along, and I went to the other room because I was like, I'm too tired to play. I cannot pretend.
That's a real Han Solo move, Brett.
I'm very Han Solo-esque. All right. So yeah, we're setting up the stakes here. What I like about this episode, and it's not that other episodes don't do this, but this feels very ultimate like X-Men-y.
Mm,
Like we have Storm here, and she says that she can feel that the Earth's magnetic field is dying.
yep.
And she says when the sun sets tonight, it sets on the future. Wolverine is once again ready to kill. His claws are primed. We get them breaking up into blue team, gold team. Rogue gets her green costume and this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles trench coat that she puts on. And it's just a great setting the table X-Men scene. It's good stuff.
So I agree with everything you just said. And also I appreciate with that storm line about when the sun sets. I like it because it's clearly spelling out to us, here's the stakes, here's the timeline. They have until sunset. And it could, I mean, I almost feel like it's, if it came from like Beast, it's a little more like a throwaway, like, by my sci-fi science, I've determined. But the fact that it's Storm, and it's just sort of like highlighting her connection to the natural world, that she can feel it. And that, to me, because it tells us something about the plot and the stakes. It explains, right? Yeah, like the Earth's magnetic poles or whatever. Okay, I understand that. It also tells us something about Storm.
Yeah, and it just, like you said, everything is just set here.
Yep.
We know what the goal is. We know what we're going to be doing. We know what we're going to be seeing. And so that when things get going, and boy, do they get going in this episode, it's one of the episodes where they really do just go hog wild with the action. Not that there haven't been great action scenes before. Obviously there have. But I think now it's at the point where it's like the characters have had so much time with each other. The world has been set in motion and the plot has been set in motion that we can now have extended action scenes where we don't need to stop and have two people talk, which is usually great.
Yep.
And it really is just like these characters are facing off and then these characters are facing off.
Oh, certainly.
It really feels like we're reaching a climax for the series.
And that starts in this episode. I mean, I guess it kind of started in the previous episode, but certainly we get that sort of extended sequence towards the end of this, and we'll get there. And it really continues into the final episode, which we'll get to next time. And song music. No.
Yeah. One thing we did get, little behind the scenes, we trade off on editing the episodes.
We do.
I recently edited episode 8, and in that episode, we talked a lot about how they did not reveal a lot about the way that Sebastian's powers work and how the robots are controlled. Xavier reveals here that they are controlled by a central command center, and Bastion is it.
Yeah.
So basically, he is controlling all of the robot people.
It's a real Dracula plot. It's a really, you got to kill the head vampire.
That is very true.
Our old pals, The Simpsons, that Halloween episode.
Yes.
I said you got to kill the head vampire.
Grandpa, you're the head vampire?
No, I am.
And we do learn that Bastion's mom, because this was another question of whether she was an unwitting participant or not, she does hate mutants because Xavier went there to recruit him. And Bastion's mom told Xavier to go pound sand.
And he tried, but that's how he lost the use of his legs. He pounded that sand too hard, hurt his feet.
Yeah, and you know they just plumb gave up. We get an X transition here. I love where it's like the letter X.
Oh yeah,
like goes in, and that's how we go from scene to scene. Beast and Forge are doing more fun science stuff.
Oh yeah,
and Storm it's a funny bit where he's like, "Oh, we could completely neutralize his powers." And she flashes about the lightning, and they say, "All right, we're not going to do that.
We'll just skip that part." Yeah.
And then it's Rogue and Xavier going back and forth, and this leads into Asteroid M. I don't know.
Damn shit. And sorry, I got again the Professor X in this season. When he's all like, we could have buried Gambit here. I'm like, why are you saying this to her? Yes, what is possessing you to say these words to this woman? Are you out of your mind?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Rogue says something interesting where she says, maybe if you saw us as people and not students.
Yeah.
I wrote down a note here. It's late in the season, obviously, so I have to go back and rewatch episodes. Mm-hmm. But it feels like something that's interesting that is happening now that Xavier is back in the mix, especially with Scott and Jean getting into it with him, mm-hmm. is this idea that maybe the previous generation is wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that is, and you and I are we don't like to talk politics on the show, as you know.
we have never, and we will never.
Yes,
not talked about a single view.
Yes, you and I talk politics off air, not a lot, but every once in a while. And I think that there's an interesting thing that they could explore in season 2, depending on what that even looks like. But the idea of like Xavier's version of things just wasn't right. Mm. And I feel like that, at least to me, in when I was watching it, I was like, oh, that's interesting because that's a thing that obviously comes up a lot in politics of like, oh, the previous generation did it wrong. But it feels like we have been at that moment for a couple of years now,
Ugh.
where it's like really questioning sort of the laws laid down by the previous generation
Sure.
and what that has done and what that's looked like and the consequences that have arisen from it. And again, because the X-Men are representative of fill in the blank sort of marginalized group, this obviously happens in marginalized groups as well, whether it's the Black community, the queer community, whatever, where they're like, how our parents approached certain things maybe wasn't right or maybe wasn't the best way to do it. And so I just,
Or even if it was at the time, it's not anymore.
oh yeah, ours outdated now. Exactly right. And so I think that it's an interesting flavor that I caught during this scene with Rogue. And I would love if in the next season, presuming that Xavier is in there more, we would see that more because he's really only with the X-Men for 2 episodes in this.
Yeah.
So if they were to continue this X-Men 97 and they keep up the idea of the X-Men as being persecuted, which I feel like there's a danger of them not doing that with Apocalypse because he's such a big figure, he kind of takes over the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I was really intrigued by that idea of the students really pushing back against Xavier. Because that does happen in the comic books, obviously, but it felt very prescient when I watched it here.
Yeah, and I would say that Xavier, if we're like casting an archetype here kind of thing, like he is idealism, but in a way that is a little too distant from lived reality, right? He's holding these things and he puts these kind of overwrought words on them, but it misses kind of the actual lived humanity of it. And I do think, and it still works for this, but I've maybe we've talked about this before on the show. If they make his case compelling in some vision and Magneto's case compelling, it creates a lot of room in the middle, and not to say like centrism necessarily, but like room between two for the other X-Men to find their application of their philosophy in it. They're like, well, I'm not prepared to go like the let's launch war on the planet level of Magneto, but also I think Xavier's too idealistic and I need to find something that's like, how do we look out for the people around us? Like I just think it creates the room for that, for those characters, as you say, the younger generation to kind of be like finding what feels true and what feels like it will work for them.
Yeah. And we'll talk about it. We have a planned wrap-up show after we do every episode where we talk more about this, but it really makes me hungry for a second season. And I have no faith that Disney's going to pull it off because I'm just don't believe in anything anymore. I'm a horrible cynic. But boy, do they have so much that they could do great things with. All right. Asteroid M appears with Magneto. And
will you validate my parking, Charles? Is this still the visitor's spot?
There needs to be a wide load banner across the back of this thing.
He leaves, it should beep, 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 beep. Like a bus backing up. Safety first, Charles.
See, you can't make me laugh because my lungs are full of liquid. All right?
That's your mutant power.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My mutant power is that I every time I breathe, I can hear my lungs gargle.
Boy,
there was one thing here.
I just want to say, for all that we're talking about these like whiny clunker Xavier lines, Jesus Christ, Magneto just comes in and just haymaker after haymaker on some of these lines. Like I have like 4 different Magneto lines written down here from just this one upcoming scene.
It's great.
We'll get there.
But before we get into that,
yeah,
Wolverine's claws. Did you see them in the scene?
Probably. I watched. My rewatch was a few days ago, so
it feels like almost like an art error. Like they're so long that I was like, this can't be like intended. Like somebody fucked this.
My claws have a murder boner.
Yeah, like go back and scroll. There's a shot of them on the dock where it's sort of like a very posy, X-Men shot where they're kind of in silhouette. His claws are like the size of Jubilee. They're enormous.
I will have to go back and look for this. All right. I'll take your word on that and I will go and look for that later. But yeah, oh boy, Magneto, he's dropping lines. You're Shi'ar Bird Queen.
Yes. Yeah. I had a note here, Bird Queen.
Yeah.
Love it. And I was like, I don't want to say this because I have no idea what that's reference to.
Oh, he's calling him out for going off to space and leaving them to deal with this shit. Oh God.
Hey, you're avian
and
pussy.
Just the tragic, brutal line that I watched a boy's frightened eyes vaporized in his skull, and he believed in me or whatever. Oh boy.
I'm so glad you
Yeah.
brought this line up because he says, "My old friend, you should have
Yeah.
seen it." And there's a pause there for a second. And when I was watching it, rewatching it for the show, I was like, "Oh, he's going to talk about the tragedy." But he talks about Genosha before the
Mm-hmm.
attack. He says they were
Yes.
dancing. And when he says you should have seen it, it was your dream
Yeah,
came
it's the
true.
thing we have both. We had different roads to get there, but this is what we both wanted, and we had it for an instant.
And I feel like that is such an incredible choice from the
Yeah.
writers because it would be so easy to just have Magneto jump into. I mean, the line that's ridiculous is only to watch his frightened eyes vaporized inside his tiny skull. Whew. You would think that he would jump right to that, but he jumps to the positive
Yeah.
first. Set up like we had it, and then they fucking took it from us. And it's just like a little, again, like this, the goddamn writers in the show, are so smart. These little decisions that just add up to this towering achievement of a great show.
And I love that. So Magneto has seen some shit already, right? We know his backstory, but like, even on top of all of his past trauma, here's a new trauma. Like, this image is haunting this man who was already like hardened to the, and it's just, yeah. We got some other great lines in here. We've got simper like beggars for tolerance. Your fallen pigsty planet.
Yes, I wrote that one down as well.
His delivery is great.
He's just sick of
Yep.
it. And you know what? Fallen Pigsty Planet, I'm there with him.
I mean,
Send
we
me-
have recent evidence that it is a fallen pigsty planet. So
You want me to sweep the floors on Asteroid M? I'll sweep the floors. I don't care. Like, you know what? Just you can give me a room in the bowels of this rock. Just give me like a nice little port window to look out at the
the
sky.
floors need no sweeping. Even though it's 1997, I have invented the Roomba.
Oh Lord, yeah. Everything's automated.
Yeah, that's right.
And there are cool shots here. Again, getting back into it, where they have the great shots of Magneto in the foreground with Xavier in the background. He looks very small, and he's sort of like Xavier's kind of like hunched over in his chair, looking down. And then we switch to Xavier in the foreground and Magneto in the background with the lightning. And it's visually delivering this idea of these two ideological titans once again facing off. Unfortunately, only Magneto is really bringing the fire. But another great line from Magneto is he says, "Decide my X-Men."
That's true.
And that's like kind of like rubbing the dirt a little bit in Xavier's face.
Oh, and there's a line. I didn't write this one down, but there's a line I think earlier in the scene where he's like, "You show up at my house," like, was he like, "My house? You left it to me, Charles," or something like? It's like, well,
yes, yeah, very catty. Catty Maggie was
there.
back. It's great.
Oh God, another. I only have like the Cliff's Notes version line, but gods abandon people, mutants do not, something like that. Which again, another good one. And
yeah, he's just on fire at all times.
What does he close with, Bret? The offer was made, the door remains open, something like that, where he's like, "Come with me. You can come with me. No hard feelings."
Yeah, it's a really compelling offer. And obviously, Rogue steps up here. She leaves, and she says something that I didn't even realize until she says it, which is, "None of you were there the day Genosha fell. Nightcrawler was, but of the X-Men team proper that started the season, none of them were there."
No.
And I hadn't really put those two together until she said it. And so it just fits like really well. Like, it just one of those things where it's like, man, they've really been nicely planting the seeds throughout the season to lead to this moment. Nothing feels out of left field. Nothing feels forced. It just reads like a very well constructed story.
Does.
Everything is connected. Not that everything has to be perfectly A to B, but I just think that everything leading to this point, right? This is a major point in the season, has felt fluid and it makes sense. And the setting is perfect. It's just really, really great.
And as Rogue makes her decision, who dies next? Jean? Been there, done that. Bishop? Morph? Who? And it's like, wow, shit. Yeah, she's been keeping score.
Yeah.
Although, and I will say, like, some of the deaths, I'm like, well, technically those were under Magneto's leadership. That's, you're crediting a previous administration with.
And then of course, Roberto goes, citing the fact that he's been basically radicalized by his mom.
That, and also, if you think about it, since he joined, it has been Magneto in charge. Like, that's actually the leader he joined under. Xavier's this guy. I've heard of this guy.
This guy is dating this bird.
Why would he have why would he have loyalty to Xavier?
Yeah.
Yeah, makes more sense. Oh, here's the line. The offer was made, the door is open, something like that.
It's great. It's just man, every time he really is like 99 for 100 in this season.
Oh, Magneto. My God, yeah.
There's just that one miss, and it happens. We all strike out from time to time. But everything else for that guy, out of this world. We cut to Muir Island, and I'm such a simp for like a folksy little Irish tune.
Oh, yeah.
And we play like a little something when we get there.
That's right. It's a Scottish tune, Bret. It's Muir Island.
I know, I keep forgetting.
And you know what? The EMP didn't knock out? Bagpipes.
What's that? Yes. Listen, you get me Amazing Grace on a pair of bagpipes, like at the end of Star Trek 2. I'm crying.
The bagpiper who hangs out near Muir Island is like, what do you mean the power's going out? I've been out here on this cliff playing these bagpipes.
Those are powered by haggis, those pipes. A nice little moment here between Scott and Cable.
Yeah. Looking at the old costumes.
He says, oh, yes. Well, here we go. So he says, oh, and son. And Cable says, let me guess, be careful. And Cyclops says, no, give him hell, which is a fun little, but he gives him the X-Force or X-Factor.
The late 90s costume.
Yeah. And he looks at it, Cable looks at it, and Scott says, what did you expect, black leather?
There's our little wink.
Loved it. I love that little punch bag at the movies because, as we all know, in the first X-Men movie, it's the opposite of that.
I remember.
Good. Because if you didn't, we'd have to go through the whole thing. I'd have to
surrender my half of the podcast to you.
Yes. We would hold a lottery system with listeners.
I think, there's something there where, we're talking two different mediums, right? We're talking live action film versus an animated television show. And I think each is somewhat justified in pointing out that what works in one medium doesn't necessarily work in the other. The Black X-Men may have been an overcorrection towards that in the film, but this is a real, these outfits, by and large, look great animated.
Oh, yeah. And I love that, it's almost like they snuck into it where without even really paying attention, I was like, oh, they're all in their original outfits.
Not quite.
Wolverine is, Storm is, Cyclops is.
That's not Cyclops' original's outfit.
It isn't?
No.
Oh, his is blue. His is all blue and yellow, right?
All five started in the blue and yellow, the basic. But then I guess it is kind of his second costume is very similar. It's not identical, but it is very similar to this. That's not Jean's first one. That's Jean's second one. Although I gotta say, I don't love Jean's costume. But what it gets...
No, it's very go-go dancer 60s.
Here's what it gets right. Green and gold is the best colors on her. The colors are on point. It's just the shape of the outfit that doesn't fly.
It's a good point. Because there is a Phoenix that's green and gold, right?
Yes.
Or green and...
That's right. Yeah, the Phoenix suit is green and gold. It's the dark Phoenix suit that's red and gold.
Yeah.
And I got the one costume... So that aside, I love the colors. It's just the shape of it. Morph's costume, he just has weird, pointless shoulder pads now.
Yeah, those shoulder pads don't really work.
Morph, you could turn into anything. You picked these shoulder pads.
Yeah, they look like, oh boy. They're like if you were playing an MMO.
Yes.
They're like the shoulders that you get when you're like level 5. They just look like trash.
I was going to, No, I'll do it because, you know what? Anyone who's listening to this is probably a nerd too. I bet you've never played it, but Final Fantasy V, the Super Nintendo game that didn't even get a US release for years, but the base whatever character class for them looks however it looks, and there's the last class you can unlock is Mimic, and it looks the same as the base, but there's just these stupid shoulder pads added to it, and I'm like, this is what Morph did. Morph just picked up the water crystal, and now he can be Mime class.
Oh god.
So
it's those shoulder pads aren't doing it for anybody.
No. Morph, come on.
We go to what I'm calling instead of the Oval Office, the Astral Office.
Hey now.
Where Xavier is talking to President Kelly.
Yep.
He brings up the Magneto protocols, and I was thinking that this is what I want. I want a government plan that is named after me, specifically
the Bret protocols.
For me. Yeah.
What would the Bret protocols consist of? What would be the detailed plan for taking you down?
Oh, it would be like an index card. There wouldn't need to be much there, but I would be flattered. I'd be flattered that they have to name it after me.
God, the Matt protocols would just be like, leave a plate of chicken out on the floor over a
Oh, God damn it! I was gonna say
over a blanket with a pit underneath. Yeah, whatever. Anything that worked on the coyote is gonna work on me.
There are two things. It's to attract you with chicken and to torture you with mayonnaise.
Oh God,
that's the push and pull of the Matt protocol.
Just kill me already. Just shut me down like one of these Prime Sentinels.
This is a quick conversation. Xavier says of Magneto, he's merely a man who is trying to survive in a world that has proven him right time and again. Amen.
Possibly Xavier's best line this episode.
Yeah, probably. And he's given this speech, and the X-Men are getting ready with, like we said, with their old costumes during it. If you don't trust me, trust my X-Men. Yep. And I wrote, this feels like X-Men to me. Like the world is hanging in the balance. Xavier's talking to the president. Two teams are on two separate but related missions. And the buildup is just like so epic.
I agree.
That it's like this is like every great X-Men book you've ever read.
Yeah, no, this is what I signed on for. This is, I mean, we've had moments of this, we've had episodes, but like this is like, oh, they are sticking the landing.
I know, yes. Because I mean, I say this all the time with superhero movies. I think across the board, third acts are usually the biggest problem for a lot of superhero movies.
100%.
And so, I mean, obviously it's different with cartoons. You know, you have more freedom. But watching this today, I was like, they're just nailing it.
Yeah.
You know, this is like you said, this is the bridge or the second act in the final 3-act ending of this. And it's just the perfect middle episode.
I agree.
It's so good.
I agree.
All right. We go to Bastion. He has a mountain of Sentinels.
Which, by the way, for all that's been made of this like Prime Sentinel plan, he's still just churning out the big old Sentinels.
Yeah, I mean, you know, this makes me happy because I was not crazy about the Prime Sentinels. Yeah. So to have them basically knocked out by an EMP in part 1, and now we're back to classic Sentinels, A-okay.
Back to plan A.
Storm gives a lovely little speech here where she said, I thought of you while I was away.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when you went through, you weathered sort of your struggles, and I was struggling with mine. There's a fun word play here where she says, have them mind your weather, have them weather your mind.
Yep.
And then again, man, this is like becoming the Storm music, which I love, which is like this piano that plays. And then we get this tornado in the desert with the lightning. Like this team is like, we're going to make Storm a fucking badass. And they nail it every single time.
And I'll say, you know, and some of it just comes down to like budget and what you could do with animation at the time. But like so often Storm used her powers in the old show was just like, zap, zap, here's yellow lightning out of her hands.
Yeah, or like wind would blow people.
Yeah, and now it's like, oh, like full tilt, nigh on climate disasters that, and it's like, this is great. This is Storm. This is why Storm has been this enduring character.
Yeah, and also like,
I mean, not just for that, but
and also just like the smart choice of like, hey, let's do a wide shot. Like, let's literally back this up, show you the entire landscape, and show you how big this tornado is compared to the mountain that is next to you. Like, just the foresight to have like the scale of her powers portrayed that way is just so smart.
And even before that, back with the scene with Jean, and we've commented on it before, but in the books, the friendship between Jean and Storm was really important.
Yeah.
And the old show didn't really ever explore. And this is like, they're just diving into it. Here's these two women who just really care about each other. They're like sisters.
Yeah. In the old X-Men, it's been a while since I've gone back to it, but characters get their episodes. Obviously, like Storm, there's that one where she goes back to Africa with Rogue, and Wolverine has his adventures. But we didn't always get like the interpersonal relationships on the team. I feel like it was like one-offs.
Other than sort of defined ones.
Yeah, like Wolverine and Cyclops butting heads, Cyclops and
Gambit
Jean,
and Rogue.
Gambit and Rogue, yeah.
Sure.
But to your point, like to show these other relationships is just, it just tightens the team even more. It's great.
Yep. And then Bastion's is like a volcano base, and he's got his replica of his hometown did he move his town there, or did he just painstakingly built a replica of like the broken down derelict version of his hometown? Like what? I don't know.
I think this guy is just losing it.
Well, there you have it.
Yeah, we get the the X-Men theme here where it starts cranking. Morph turns into Hulk, and we get a Morph
Yeah.
smash, which is great. I got a big kick out of Beast, bitch slapping the Sentinel with its own hand. That was very funny to me.
What is the sound of one hand clapping?
Yeah. Sinister and Jean get the face off one-on-one.
Now that's great. I mean, I realize this is just the start of it. It goes for like several scenes here, but I loved the Sinister and Jean fight. I thought it was visually interesting, especially we're not quite there yet, but when they wind up in the bowling alley and like every bowl, and just the thought of like, oh fuck, it would really hurt to get hit by a bowling ball moving at speed.
There's a very good line that starts this fight where Jean says, "Madeline fights with me today."
Yeah, true.
Great stuff.
And I like that it shows off some of Sinister's other powers, right? Like he like melts into that like shadow goo and slimes towards her and everything. It's like we didn't see him always do shit like this in the old show.
Sinister is one of those guys that I always get a little frustrated with it, but you can't get everything you want. Where like his powers are never defined, so he can just kind of do whatever he wants whenever he needs to do it. Like, he needs his body to have a bunch of tendrils that reach out, he can do that. He needs to shoot power out of his hands, he can do that. He needs to turn into a shadow, he can do that.
And I think it's explained maybe it's in the next episode that's kind of because that is what he's not a mutant. He has taken all of these like mutant genes and everything and made himself capable of doing all this shit.
Maybe Mangala helped him. Who knows?
Yeah, that's right. I wonder what he's up to.
And then from here, we go to the other team on top of inside of Asteroid M.
Yep.
A quick X-Files on this. Quick open up of the X-Files.
I wish you would.
I did not realize this. Asteroid M, would you care to guess when in the X-Men run it first appeared?
Is it the pre-Claremont?
It is pre-Claremont.
Yeah. God, it couldn't be in the original Stan Lee run.
Its first appearance is in X-Men issue number 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Boy, they wasted no time.
Yeah, they go up there to fight Magneto and the Brotherhood of
the
Evil
Brotherhood. That's right, which was Toad, Mastermind, and then his children who didn't know they were his children, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch.
Yeah. So
wow, it was that quick.
It was. I was shocked when I looked that up today.
Yeah.
So Asteroid M, obviously iconic location thing, whatever in the X-Men universe. We don't got to get into it, but it's what a cool idea. And obviously what this plays into is another iconic Asteroid M sequence much later on, later in the 90s. X-Men number 5 is from the 60s. But this is also a level from the video game.
Wait, can I stay in the X-Files?
Yeah, well, you go right ahead and do it.
Something that I didn't know this actually when I was reading at the time. I've learned it since, but so his space base has recurrently been Asteroid M, but in the 90s for a while it was Avalon.
Oh, yeah.
And what I didn't realize at the time, because I didn't really read X-Force, was that it was like he came across like Cable's ship in space and just like incorporated into Asteroid M.
Yoink. Just stole it.
Yoink. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, there are so many ships in the X-Men. I mean, X-Factor stole Apocalypse's ship at one point.
It was their base. It crashed off of New York, and it was like very like a public disaster. Like it wasn't like a secret base. It was like, that's where X-Factor hangs out.
Yes. It was like their Baxter building, kind of.
Kind of. And I will say, because I think this is where Rogue rips the jet open and they're all gone. Damn it, Elf. Right. But I'll say, so Rogue rips that one open. The other plane, Storm and Forge, hit some trouble with the Sentinels in the sky. That's 2 more fucking planes. What's the plane count at this point? How many planes have they broken?
We should have had a
6?
plane count.
Are we at 6 in this one season?
We should have had a plane count. We got to go.
How many do they have? Where did they get them all?
The funding. God, the funding for this. For Asteroid M, is this also not a level in one of the video games? Don't you fight?
I think
fight Magneto?
More than one video game.
No, probably. That's true.
Yeah.
All right. But the one where Jubilee plays in the Mojo episode, she kind of fights.
Oh, certainly.
She fights Magneto.
Yeah, that's where the Magneto boss is. Yeah.
Speaking of Jubilee, her and Sunspot, their powers collide. Looks great. They get to face off against each other. Magneto, in what is not my favorite part of the episode, but I'm going to say it's my favorite part of the episode. He gets to tell Charles to shut up, and he throws the magnet bar in his mouth.
It is a good line.
He's like, I've been waiting years to say this.
And I like the detail that, so as they're confronting Magneto and Rogue and Sunspot are like helping Magneto, I like that they're still not malicious towards their friends, right? Like Sunspot is literally apologizing for attacking Jubilee. Rogue is like just dragging Wolverine to the ground, like, what's he say? You got to cool off. You're out to kill or something like that. And like, they don't want to hurt their friends.
It's a good, like we see this all the time now in superhero stuff where it's just like, now they have to fight. But this, like, they sort of maintain who they are, despite this being a thing that's happening. We go back to the Bastion fight, and Morph as Sinister runs in.
You know, it's a good attempt.
It is. I love that Bastion is like, no, he says, know your role. A snake like Sinister would never risk his life for another.
This scene felt to me like the writers, like they were basing it off like an X-Men like D&D campaign where it's like, okay, Morph, roll deception. Oh shit, that's a fail. Nope, he sees through your Sinister disguise.
And then Beast comes in, and he is quickly, they're trying to put the neutralizer on him, and
he gets close.
He does, but then he gets wrapped up by these tendrils.
Yeah.
Forge is having a good old...
And Xavier thinks, I'm jealous. The good old days with the Lalandra.
Ugh, that pet line would never leave me. Forge having a good old time killing Sentinels, giving some wahoos until, like, as you said, the Blackbird is gunned down again.
That's right. Oh. And if Forge couldn't keep that thing in the air, no one could.
That's true. Sinister and Jean's fight continues. They go into the bowling alley. No, this is after the bowling alley. And this is the part where it gets a little jumpy, where Cable now has somehow been brainwashed. We don't see how.
So, no, I actually like that because it ties us back to earlier in the season when Sinister was experimenting on Nathan. Like, this is the culmination of that.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
This was like a sleeper cell kind of in him.
He's still, speaking of earlier in the season, he's still calling him a writhing thing of chance. This guy's gross. Sinister.
Why does nobody like my nicknames for them?
There's a reason why this guy's not allowed within 20 feet of a school. All right, like you just can't have him around. Jean and Cable, their fight is another example of like full powers just smashing against each other. I was gonna ask you, is Cable in any of those Capcom versus Marvel?
Oh yeah. Oh, he's a strong character in Marvel vs. Capcom.
Is this an instance of video game powers or video game moves showing up in the show? Because it looks like when he's like sort of pushing towards her with her telekinesis, I thought maybe that
actually no. In that game, like so much of his powers is just based around like shoot laser gun.
Interesting.
And it's effective, but no. The costume is the same. That's the one he wore in the game. But I do like this because even in the old cartoon, even in so many of the X-Men like 90s comics, it seemed like Cable's power was he has a bunch of guns.
Yes. Well, the great thing about Cable is, I mean, I don't know if this has changed or if it's been rewritten or retconned or whatever, but there was a point where it's like, yes, he's an incredibly powerful telekinetic, but he's constantly using those powers to like keep the virus at bay.
Yes.
And so like, he can't really use them.
As well. Yeah. But here he cuts loose.
Yeah, it's great. And again, whenever they go crazy with the colors and the powers splashing against each other, it looks fantastic.
Because if we crack those X-Files back open again.
No, crack them.
If I'm remembering right, the Age of Apocalypse, that little storyline, the version of Cable in that reality never got sent to the future, didn't have a techno-organic virus, and he was this character X-Man.
That's right.
And he was like a reality-shaping level powerful telepath telekinetic.
Yeah, I mean, all those things are true. I'm trying to remember, like, what are the examples of his powers in those, in that book. It's been a while since I've read it, maybe 2 summers ago. But yeah. X-Man he has like a...
Nate Gray, that was his name.
That's it. Wow, your memory. I'm jealous. But yeah, Forge is very like, he's like all robot in that. Is that Forge? Yes, it is.
In the Age of Apocalypse?
Yeah.
That sounds right. Yeah. So because there was only certain books I was following at the time, like I've read and reread the ones that were the takeovers for X-Men and Uncanny X-Men and Generation X. God, I don't even think I had the Wolverine ones. It might have just been those 3. So there were always like gaps for me of like, they're referencing these events of like the 6 other books that were doing this for episode. I'm like, I don't know, but I wish I saw.
Yeah.
I wish I knew what Gambit and the Externals were up to.
Oh yeah, Gambit the Externals. That is another good one.
Yeah.
All right.
I loved the team lineups in that, by the way.
Oh, it was
The
great.
was the Quicksilver team and the Rogue team and Iceman Banshee. They had these good rosters where I was like, damn, so quickly invested in these lineups.
It was a brilliant little marketing story idea. And they were like,
Yep.
we're shutting down the X-Men series. We're ending it. They kill them all, they end those
Yeah.
books the way they end them, and then they launch Age of Apocalypse, and it's the biggest thing in the
That
world.
could have been a disaster. It came out better than it had any right to, really.
I mean, the writers though, that was Jeff Loeb, Scott
Yeah.
LaBelle, Fabian Nish. I can never say his last name.
Nicieza?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like they had all the great writers in place.
Yes. Fabian, if again, we know you're listening, please write in the pronunciation guide to your
Oh
last
my
name.
God, yeah. And sign a book. You're great.
Yeah.
So Jean is battling Cable. We got a moment here where she communicates with Scott. Cyclops. I mean, Magneto. So he realizes that Jean's in trouble. Wolverine takes off Magneto's helmet. We get the cool, like,
He's the one who
Magneto's
gets him, yep.
slow motion turnaround, like, oh shit. He has
Yep.
a real oh shit look in his face. Xavier's
You can't
controlling
take your
him.
eyes off Wolverine.
Yeah, and Cyclops shoots Xavier's wheelchair, and it's like, couldn't you just tell him to like hang on for a minute? Like, you're this great
you're
leader.
right.
You could be like, hey, just like freeze Magneto mentally. Like just shut him down while the other team deals with what they're dealing with, and then just start him right back up again. But no, he knocks Xavier over. Magneto throws his helmet on Xavier's head, crushes it, and then we get Wolverine stabbing him in the back.
Oh,
Been in a lot of wars, bub. The brave always die first. What a great line.
I love that they did this.
Me too.
And they show you see the claws, you see the blood drip, and it's like, oh, they really went there. They for real did it. And then the immediate consequences of why Wolverine probably should never be the one to fight Magneto.
Yes. There's a line here. Magneto says like, this feud is over or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's, I never thought of Magneto and Wolverine as having like a feud.
Yeah.
But boy, does he end it.
Oh God.
I love that it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And we just sort of like hang on the shot. Like you could see, it's like the shot from the comic, basically. Like
it is
the adamantium, and it's not explained. Like the fans who know what is happening are like me, my jaw's on the floor.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit, they did it.
Shit, they're doing it. Yep.
And we're actually gonna end this section by opening the X-Files again. And if you don't know what we're talking about, this is essentially the conclusion of Fatal Attraction storyline. X-Men number 25, Wolverine number 75, Magneto ripping out the adamantium off of Wolverine's bones, which would lead to a long stretch of comics where Wolverine, his bone claws would come out.
That's right. And it was making him more feral or something. So Fatal Attractions, right? It's this crossover event across a few different X books.
Mm-hmm.
But what I had, and this was actually one of the things that really got me into X-Men and into comics, my uncle who grew up, he was a comics fan. He knew I was really into the X-Men cartoon. And it was, I think, a birthday. He got me, bagged and boarded X-Men 25 and Wolverine 75. These last two, Wolverine losing his adamantium and then like the recovery and the reveal of the bone claws. And it's like the two of the first like for real collection, right? Like I said, bagged and boarded, like this was it. It's like, I have to build out from here. I have to read the rest of these books. This is incredible. This was an entry point for me in a big way. And because this was like, right, it's the two I had. And then even as I built, like as when my collection was still small, like I would go back and reread these. So I can remember very clearly the set. Now I didn't have the one, like the Uncanny X-Men episode that led into it, or issue, pardon me. But I remember it starting with very similar to this in the previous episode. This is a response to a global EMP wave. Same thing, mm-hmm. right? That really shuts everything down. And in the book, Xavier brings a hand-picked team to deal with Magneto up to Avalon / Asteroid M. And Xavier's in like a Shi'ar walking suit, so he can walk for this. Yeah, but it's him. Jean Grey is there. Quicksilver is there. Rogue, Gambit, and Wolverine. I think that's the 6.
Yep.
And it even gives justifications for why each of them like He needed Jean because she also has the telepathy. Wolverine and Gambit are just master infiltrators. And then I like the detail that Quicksilver and Rogue were picked because of their personal connections to Magneto, that would like throw him off, that it was his son and someone that he, was used to be intimate with and all this stuff like that. But yeah, and then it leads up to this same moment where Wolverine gashes him with his claws, and Magneto's response is to be like, you know what? Fuck you. You don't have adamantium anymore. It almost kills him. It damn near kills him.
It's great. I used to have the trading cards. Remember those?
Yes.
And there was a what do they call it? Lenticular? I forget the name of it. Where like you would like turn it and the picture would change.
I don't know the name. There were those cards, I think, on the actual covers of the
that's
books.
Right. Yes.
There's a Gambit one, I think, on X-Men 25, and I think it was Wolverine on it on Wolverine 75. So again, these were like prized possessions of mine.
Of course, how could they not be?
In my youth. Yeah. Oh God. But yeah, they did it. I just was really happy that they did it.
Me too. So what a way to end the episode. My final note.
Yeah, that's our cliffhanger. Wow.
I know. My final note is, if you look at these 3 episodes as the movie that ends the season, then this is as good a second act as you're going to get.
Hell yeah.
Like, we get this great confrontation. We get this great build up. Like, even the beginning of the episode where I was talking about, where we're jumping from sort of scene to scene and everybody's getting ready. It almost reminded me of one of my favorite movies of all time, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, where it's like we're going from each person, and it's like just the act of cutting from people and cutting from like one person getting ready, another person getting ready, has its own momentum to it. It's like you can feel the story dragging its feet across the ground and getting ready to break into a sprint. The whole thing is just, it really works.
And that, I mean, to take a pretty severe detour off of that, going back to our earlier conversation just about like filmmaking generally, it reminds me that the early cinema was so rooted in theater.
Oh yeah.
That it was a strange new technique. When was it Méliès or whoever, a French, the technique of montage. We don't need to just show a continuous, right, the way you would like a theatrical production. We're going to cut between these shots and the audience is going to be able to follow it. And that was like breathtaking at the time. Oh my God, we don't need to show every second of what's happening continuously. We can actually do something way more interesting if we're cutting between. And here that's how every movie is made, right? It's a novelty if a movie doesn't do montage. If it's a one-shot movie, that's a rarity, and it's like a flex of the filmmaker.
And it's somewhat gimmicky as well.
It is, like what Rope with Hitchcock, and there's been other examples, but it's like a stunt way to do a movie or an episode. And montage is just like, now we say montage and we mean specifically it's put to music.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But yeah, incredible.
Yeah, it's great. I'm very excited to watch the last episode.
Oh,
I have not watched it since my first viewing of the season, which was many, many months ago at this point.
Something I appreciate, and we're going to get there in depth, and I don't want to say too much about it now because of that. I like that doing the Fatal Attractions or close enough match for it here. And at the beginning of it feels like it's setting something else from the comics up. And I really like the way that they sort of invoke the possibility and take it in a different direction. Like it's a show that's willing to absolutely pull up the past, pull up these moments, and then also say like, and we're going to do our own thing. I like that.
It feels like it's just a show written by, created by people that not just knew the show, but knew the comic books. And they knew that the audience they were heavily into the show and heavily into the comics. And so not afraid to, like we said, like give you this scene, which is like a scene basically right out of the comic, or to like have you, like you were just saying, have you think it's going one way and then go the other way. It really has been great to go through it and really comb through every episode and see how well put together the whole thing is.
Yep. And this definitely belongs in the upper tiers of this season.
Yeah, probably A tier, maybe S tier I wouldn't argue with it.
You could make the case for either, in my opinion. All right, and let's close out with Bret. I have gone ahead and prepared yet another feature for us, a little game to end it. And this time, what I've put together is something called X-Mash. And Bret, do you remember the game MASH, from like elementary and middle school? Is the slight age gap between us just enough that it would be less familiar to you?
No, I know MASH. I got it mixed up when you texted me this. I got it mixed up with another game. I don't even know what it's
Yes.
called.
Oh, the little paper fortune teller game?
Yes.
Listeners who are of our demographic plus minus like 3 years either direction, you know exactly what we're talking about.
I'm
But for
sure
those,
kids still play MASH.
do you think they do?
Maybe. I actually have no
Let me
idea.
go. Let me go wake up my children and
Yes.
demand that they tell me if they know what MASH is. So, for those of you who did not have the right years of their life coincide with the 1990s, MASH was a game where you would have a piece of paper at the top. MASH stood for mansion, apartment, shack, or house. And then you would fill out a bunch of other categories of possible futures. It was a fortune telling game where you would populate those were your future house options, your future home. And then the others would be, who are you going to marry? Where are you going to go on vacation? All this stuff. You'd put, some good options and a bad option and leave it up to fate. And so, Brett, if you're willing, we're going to do the same.
Let's try it.
And this will be an X-Men themed. I don't know if I've gone too deep into that conceit, but we have, if we want to put our MASH at the top of the page, you've got a piece of paper?
I do.
I've got mine. And in this case, that stands for Madripoor, Asteroid M, the Savage Land, or the Hellfire Club. We are telling the fortune of you are a character in an X-Men story.
I love it.
And this is, what's the setting of your introductory storyline going to be? And we got some other questions. And for each of these questions, and I will do this for you and you will do it for me. We'll try to do this simultaneously.
Beautiful.
Come up with some options here. So, Brett, I will ask you for a mutant ability that you're going to have. Give me 2 good ones that you'd like and one clunker, one bad option.
Oh boy. So I guess I'll say flying.
Okay.
And I'll say healing factor.
Okay. And give me a bad option.
Atomic farts.
Try to think back to our Would You Rather Mutant Edition for some ideas.
Yes.
Yeah, right. All right. And then you write them down for me. I'll say for my options, I'll do telekinesis. I'll do shapeshifting. And I will take as a clunker to, is it psychometric? Is that when someone can touch an object and learn about it?
Oh, I've never heard this.
Okay. Yeah. So I can learn about an object, but I have to put it in my mouth to do so. All right. Next. On the X-Men squad that's assembled for this little storyline, who is the leader?
And I just choose from the X-Men?
Yeah. I mean, I
Storm.
guess you technically don't have to, but okay. Leader. So option 1 is Storm. Same thing. 2 good options, 1 bad option. That'll be the rule for all of these. Yeah.
Let's go with, you know what? I'll go with Jubilee.
Okay.
Just because I want to celebrate her first true adventure with the team in episode 9. And for a bad option, I'll say Toad.
Nice. All right. For my options, I will say, well, since you took one canonical leader, I guess I'll take the other. I'll say Cyclops. And during one of his more, I don't know, favorable periods, I'll say Magneto. And for a bad option, I'm going to go with Senator Kelly.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. All right. We're working out the rosters here. Who is your rival? Who do you have a rivalry with?
God, who do I hate in the X-Men world? Oh, what's Banshee's brother's name? Is it Black Tom?
Black Tom Cassidy, yeah.
Sauron.
So these, you're doing villains. I meant like more of like a friendly rivalry.
Oh, a friendly rivalry.
We'll get to villains.
Boy.
I'm going to save that. I'll save that for villains because I think that was a...
Oh, who's my... Gambit. We can have a friendly rivalry.
A friendly Gambit or with...
let's just go New Mutants. I'll say Boom Boom.
Boom Boom. All right. And one bad option.
Oh, I don't even know what would be a bad option. Is it somebody? is it somebody who would kick my ass, or somebody is just like, oh, what a terrible person?
Open to interpretation.
I guess so. I'm trying to think of the various significant others of the X-Men that were like just regular people. Like this person was a cop and this person was a medic or something. Yeah, right. But I'll never remember any of their names.
Opal Tanaka. All these different ones.
Yeah. Oh God, who would be a good or bad rival? I'm trying to think of. Oh, Leech.
Leech. All right. All right, rival options for me. Let's go with. Yeah, it's hackneyed, but let's say Wolverine and let's put Jubilee and Moira McTaggart.
Moira.
Now, Brett,
Mm-hmm.
don't tell the wives, even though they'll listen. Who is your romantic interest in this storyline?
Oh God. Can I repeat anybody that I already have?
Sure.
You know what? I'm gonna go with Storm.
Oh, excellent.
You know, we've spent so much time bringing her up.
Yeah.
Why don't I just go with Psylocke?
Okay, there you go.
God, who would the bad one be? What's her face? Mask from the
Mask.
Morlocks.
Oh God, yeah. All right. For mine, I will say let's go Rogue.
Old move.
Yeah. Shadowcat, although not when she's like a child. Older incarnations of Shadowcat. And I'm gonna put myself at risk here. Mojo.
Oh no.
I have to have a bad option.
You know what
Brett.
though? You know what? I didn't have the guts to even envision a man as my I mean if you can even call Mojo a man, who knows what he is.
I also live dangerously.
Yes.
Okay. Who is your buddy, your friend on the team? Who do you really hit it off
Beast.
with? Oh, here we go. Okay.
Beast.
We got Beast.
Banshee.
I like that.
Oh, and the one that I would hate?
Yep.
Professor Xavier.
All right, I'll go. I'm trying not to copy up on yours. I'll say Iceman.
I figured you'd do him.
Yep.
And
I'm torn.
you know who you're gonna go with.
But I got another one too.
Oh, who?
Sync from Generation X. I always liked him when I was reading the books when I was younger.
Huh. I didn't even know how to spell sync. Is it just like the word?
But not like the kitchen sink. SYNCH.
Sure. Yes. NC.
H.
Oh,
There's an
H.
H, yeah. Oh, and I need a bad one. God, who would be a shitty friend? Who would I resent being stuck with all the time? Oh boy. Let's go with you know what? I feel like just he's been kind of an unlikable dick sometimes. Let's say Archangel.
Sure.
He seems cool, but like not like great friend material.
No, very cold.
Yeah. And free pick. Not any particular relationship to you, but there's one more member on the team.
Okay. Rain. Do you remember Rain from the New Mutants?
No.
She's the Irish girl who can turn into a werewolf.
Oh, Wolfsbane.
Oh yeah, Wolfsbane. Yeah.
Yeah.
Her name is. I think her human name is.
Oh, is that how it's pronounced? I think I've been mispronouncing it for years.
You know what though? It probably isn't. It's like
spelled Rahne. I thought it was like Rane, but it could just be Rain. I could be overpronouncing it.
I mean, like, what do I know? How do I know how to pronounce it?
We are both just making a guess here.
Yeah.
But yeah. Now I do know who you're talking about. Wolfsbane.
Wolfsbane. Why don't we do Ilyana Rasputin?
Okay. Who sometimes goes by Magic or Daytrip. I'll just put Ilyana
with a K.
Yeah.
All right. And who would be a one that I don't want that I would hate to have?
Yeah.
This really has opened my eyes. Like, man, there really aren't that many duds in the X-Men universe. Don't know. What about Evil Colossus? Remember when Colossus was an acolyte for a while?
Yeah. Okay. Evil Colossus. All right. And for my just wild card picks, let's go. Let's say Longshot.
Okay.
I mean, I am going to put Nightcrawler in here because I do want him involved. And I don't know. Shatterstar was pretty painfully 90s. Actually, oh God, isn't he like Longshot's descendant? Maybe that's too close. I don't know.
No, keep him.
Keep him. That's it. He's in. God, I feel like I did too many of these questions. There's just a few more. What is your mission?
Oh God. Am I picking one or do I do three for this as well?
It's still three. Yeah. We're gonna let the fate decide what happens. And you can keep this part fairly generic if you want.
Let's say beat up Friends of Humanity.
Okay. I'll say anti-mutant stuff just to keep it open-ended.
Sure.
Yep.
What's a very X-Men-y thing to do?
Hmm.
We'll say like prevent missile launch or
Okay,
something.
I like it. Yep.
Um, and the one you don't want to do,
Yeah.
basketball game.
Oh, it's one of those breather episodes, huh?
Yeah.
I'll say one will be rescue a new young mutant.
Oh, nice.
Another will be um, stop a supervillain level natural disaster, that kind of thing. God, what do I don't want to do? I'll do this to myself.
Oh, I know. Go to Mojo World.
With my boyfriend. Okay. I'm gonna really risk it all for myself here. Eat evil mutant mayonnaise.
All
Who is the villain?
right, so I'll keep Sauron because I think he's cool.
Yep.
Sinister,
Okay.
and as a bad one, Nanny.
Oh, nice. I'll say Juggernaut.
Jugs.
I'll say the Executioner.
Nice.
And oh god, I actually like the stories with him, but it would be a real pain in the ass to have to deal with Arcade. Who is the real villain?
Oh
You
God.
get a twist.
What is that? The High Evolutionary.
Oh, awesome.
Trying to think of somebody else obscure. I'll say Master Mold. I know it's not obscure, but we'll just say Master Mold.
Mm-hmm.
And as a bad one, I'll just go Mojo.
Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Strife.
Nice.
And for a shitty one, let's go with like a deep cut here. Cobalt Man.
Cobalt Man. I don't even know if I
He
know
was
him.
an Iron Man ripoff villain that they fought in the Stan Lee era, like twice. And then finally, after the mission, you lose a bet and you have to.
Oh, who's
So instead of like two good, we had like two like charming but annoying. One like genuinely would suck.
All right, so the one that would suck
Yep.
is Fix the Blackbird. Charming would be Cook Dinner.
Okay.
And what's something else that is X-Men related? Teach class the next day.
Oh, okay. Lose a bet and have to buy Wolverine beer for a month. Have to clean the basement of the X Mansion. And have to unclog Beast's shower drain.
Huh.
All right. So now, do you remember how this works now, Brett?
Not at all.
Okay.
I have no idea.
You take your pen or pencil, whatever you're using, you put it in the center of a page, and we're going to do this one at a time. I'll do it first. I'm going to start drawing like a spiral, basically.
Okay.
And after at least a few seconds have passed, you're going to say stop. So I'm going to start, and
All
you
right.
just tell me when I should stop.
Stop.
Okay. And now I'm going to draw a line from the end to the center, and I'm going to count how many of the spiral lines it intersects. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, it crosses 6 lines. So now I'm going to go back to this, and now I'm going to start counting by sixes. And so the sixth one I will cross off, and I'm just going to keep going by 6 and crossing off. And when there's only one option left in a category, that's that one, and now that whole category doesn't get included in it anymore. We just go until there's one left in each. So,
gotcha.
So for you, it's 6, Brett. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You do not have a healing factor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Boom Boom is not your rival. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Banshee's not your buddy. You're not going to prevent something that I wrote and couldn't read.
Oh, good thing I'm not doing it.
Yeah. Oh, prevent a missile launch. You're not preventing a missile launch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Master Mold is not the real villain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're not going to Asteroid M. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, sorry, buddy. Storm's not your love interest.
Yeah.
Oh, no, she's not your leader. Excuse me. You have her in
Oh,
the
okay.
thing. 1, 2, 3, 6. You are lucky. You ain't flirting with Mask.
But should I also do yours so that we can do this at the same time?
Oh, maybe. Oh, yeah, we should just do the spiral simply. Sure.
Yeah.
Start doing your spiral. Not the mutant spiral, Bret. Okay, stop.
And I draw from the end of the spiral to the middle?
Yeah, and you count how many lines it crosses.
I see. 3.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, and you just kind of go, starting with the MASH, count that many, work your way through the different categories, and then start around the circle. Once it's crossed off, you don't count anymore. Once a category only has one thing left in it, you skip that whole category.
Gotcha.
6. Oh, and we got Bret. Well, I'll do the reveal at the end, I guess, now that we're both trying to concentrate. Man, we are going to edit out so much dead air. All right, Bret. You might still need to concentrate, but I have your fortune.
I have yours. I hope I did this right, but
if not,
who wants to reveal first?
Up to you. Dealer's choice.
Where you go? Why don't you tell me what my fate is?
Bret, your X-Men debut takes place in Madripoor.
Okay.
You have the mutant power of atomic farts.
Oh, no.
And you're with a squad consisting of your leader, Toad, your rival, Gambit, your romantic interest, Storm.
All right.
Your buddy,
this
Beast.
Is getting better by the second.
Yeah. Your buddy, Beast, and Wolfsbane is also there.
Sweet.
You are on a mission to play basketball and run afoul of Mr. Sinister. But wait. The real villain behind the scenes is the High Evolutionary. And after losing a bet on the way home, you are responsible for cooking dinner for the rest of the team.
You know what? Worst things could happen to me.
Right?
All right, here we go.
Give me my debut.
Your debut is happening in the Hellfire Club.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Your mission is you're rescuing a new mutant.
Okay.
Unfortunately, your power is mouth psychometrics.
Oh, fuck. God damn it. Why did I do this to myself?
It gets worse from there.
Oh,
your leader is Senator Kelly.
Fuck.
What is this? I think it's rival. Your rival is Moira McTaggart.
Huh. Oh, by 3. You did groups of 3.
But your buddy is Iceman.
Okay.
And your romantic is Rogue.
I don't hate that.
Your free the extra person is Longshot.
That's not so bad.
You are the villain is Juggernaut, but the real villain is the Cobalt Man.
Oh shit! Out of retirement.
And when you lose a bet, you are going to be unclogging Beast's shop.
Oh god damn it! Oh man, I think your issue is going to sell better than mine, Bret.
No, I think they're both going to struggle.
All right. Well, thank you for playing X-Mash.
Thank you for inventing it.
Yeah. And that's going to do it for Man Children of the Atom, episode 9. That was Tolerance is Extinction, part 2. Next time, season finale, Tolerance is Extinction, part 3. And that's it for our planned season. But as Bret hinted, we don't want to stop doing this. So we're going to continue to find things to talk about. We may not be on the weekly release schedule anymore after that, but we will. This is not the last you've heard of us. So for now and for the last time this season, we'll see you next time.
Oh, come on.
Our theme song was written and recorded by Cheer Captain. Find Cheer Captain at cheercaptain.bandcamp.com. To contact Matt or Bret, email us at manchildrenoftheatom@gmail.com.